Is SpaceX's $100 billion bet too risky? Stage SpaceX's $100 billion spend across 5 risk gates before building 10 pads to prove unit margins first. SpaceX's bold commitment of $100 billion to Starbase Louisiana represents an unprecedented, high-stakes industrial bet on turning Starship into the primary economic engine for the next decade. The planned 125,000-acre complex in Vermilion Parish is designed to become the largest launch installation globally, dwarfing existing facilities with sheer industrial footprint and logistical capacity. This massive master plan features 5 dedicated launch complexes housing 10 launch pads, integrated propellant manufacturing, on-site power generation, vehicle assembly plants, and planned employee housing. According to Louisiana Economic Development, this massive megaproject could generate over 3,000 direct positions while supporting roughly 8,100 indirect employment opportunities across the regional economy. With construction starting by 2027 and target operations by 2030, you must evaluate if physical deployment is moving dangerously faster than demonstrated operational vehicle reliability. The bullish camp views this $100 billion investment as building market capacity early, whereas contrarian market observers see massive upfront capital committed without sustained, proven vehicle unit economics. Constructing 10 launch pads is mechanically straightforward, but proving that Starship can repeatedly launch, recover, and turn around at industrial scale remains unvalidated in actual revenue conditions. Starship represents the single critical operational link connecting next-generation orbital data centers, heavy Starlink constellations, and multiplanetary deep space logistics within one unified commercial umbrella. Independent equity analysts correctly pinpoint vehicle execution as the decisive vulnerability that could either validate or completely undermine SpaceX's multi-hundred billion-dollar enterprise valuation trajectory. The Starship testing track record demonstrates rapid iteration, but you cannot afford to confuse raw development testing breakthroughs with commercially mature, low-cost aerospace manufacturing stability. Flight 13 in July 2026 achieved mission milestones only after an earlier static abort from multiple failed Super Heavy engines, illustrating ongoing propulsion and ignition complexity. The fly, fail, fix development philosophy works brilliantly for prototypes, yet it becomes financially unforgiving once an enterprise attempts to guarantee thousands of annual launch commitments. The primary risk facing this program is not the construction of launch towers, but creating massive fixed-cost infrastructure ahead of validated recurring hardware launch demand. Target metrics projecting thousands of annual launches must be treated by your executive team as aspirational operational targets rather than as fully validated corporate earnings baselines. Executing high flight volumes demands flawless synchronization between vehicle manufacturing, Raptor engine supplies, propellant logistics, Federal Aviation Administration approvals, and continuous orbital commercial customer demand. If your enterprise ignores supply chain friction, the surrounding industrial ecosystem will quickly choke the launch cadence even if the core stainless steel spacecraft performs perfectly. Despite these massive capital risks, securing 125,000 acres gives SpaceX unmatched structural moats in launch cadence, supply integration, and operational staging that competitors cannot replicate overnight. Transforming former Exxon coastal oil property into a cutting-edge spaceport intelligently leverages existing industrial energy labor, deepwater channel shipping routes, and heavy pipeline fuel infrastructure. At L-Impact Solutions, we emphasize that committing $100 billion fundamentally changes capital downside, turning minor engineering bottlenecks into severe balance sheet and asset utilization impairments. When engineering teams build multi-billion-dollar ecosystems around single-platform designs, reversing fundamental operational or payload design miscalculations becomes prohibitively expensive for executive leadership. Market expectations increasingly price in downstream revenues from orbital artificial intelligence data clusters, effectively forcing investors to pay upfront for several consecutive layers of unproven execution. Independent research from Morningstar indicates that reaching a $2 trillion valuation ceiling requires flawless Starship reusability alongside highly profitable, low-latency commercial orbital edge computing networks. Starlink remains the strongest internal anchor tenant for this megacomplex, providing guaranteed captive payload volume to absorb excess launch capacity during early development ramp cycles. Launching next-generation broadband satellites requires massive volumetric payload capabilities, transforming high-cadence launch pads from speculative engineering experiments into necessary operational distribution channels. This closed vertical loop allows low launch expenses to accelerate satellite deployments, which generates cash flow to subsidize further infrastructure scaling across coastal Louisiana facilities. Expanding into orbital computing clusters raises technical stakes dramatically, demanding critical engineering breakthroughs in spaceborne power generation, thermal radiative dissipation, and complex in-space hardware maintenance. Executive decision-makers must rigorously separate visionary multiplanetary commentary from validated commercial operations when allocating capital across large-scale physical manufacturing and launch facilities. For the state of Louisiana, direct jobs offering average salaries of approximately $92,600 represent substantial economic upgrades over historical baseline earnings across rural Vermilion Parish communities. Economic development boards must balance enthusiastic corporate recruitment with enforceable contractual milestones regarding local vendor sourcing, persistent high-wage payrolls, and public infrastructure cost-sharing agreements. The surrounding coastal wetlands present severe environmental challenges, requiring robust storm surge resilience, acoustic vibration containment, and strict industrial wastewater discharge management systems. SpaceX has publicly pledged coastal preservation, but state regulators must turn these public relations statements into legally binding, auditable metrics with clear operational compliance penalties. The primary solution requires adopting milestone-gated capital deployment, releasing funds across the $100 billion allocation only as technical flight reliability hurdles are met. Infrastructure expansion across all 5 complexes should unlock sequentially, ensuring subsequent launch complexes break ground only after initial pads demonstrate sustainable operational launch cadences. Your leadership team must establish a strict stage-gated development framework, prove actual vehicle throughput first, then systematically multiply capital-intensive physical infrastructure second. The second vital solution demands managing Starbase Louisiana around net flight economics, tracking total propellant expenses, refurbishment labor hours, and realized payload delivery margins per mission. High launch frequency without robust contribution margins will destroy capital rapidly, making per-flight profitability a far superior key performance indicator than simple gross launch volume counts. The third strategic solution requires creating a transparent public scorecard measuring deployed capital against announced figures to guarantee taxpayers receive promised economic returns. State economic agencies should establish specialized technical apprenticeships in propulsion maintenance, industrial automation, and robotic welding to build durable local workforce talent beyond a single employer. The fourth recommendation calls for establishing an open aerospace park, inviting regional universities, defense suppliers, and energy partners to prevent creating an isolated corporate enclave. Diversifying local industrial participation protects the regional economy against unexpected Starship development delays while establishing a resilient, multi-tenant Gulf Coast advanced manufacturing cluster. The fifth and most decisive solution establishes complete Starship reusability as the non-negotiable capital trigger for all secondary infrastructure and pad expansions. Achieving a spectacular launch provides zero financial validation unless the booster and ship can be caught, refurbished cheaply, and rapidly relaunched within operational cost envelopes. If SpaceX can routinely launch and land Starship at minimal turnaround cost, this $100 billion Louisiana investment will become a historically brilliant commercial masterstroke. Conversely, if turnaround times and thermal tile maintenance remain labor-intensive, the 125,000-acre spaceport risks turning into an underutilized monument of misallocated corporate capex. Through strategic frameworks designed by L-Impact Solutions, corporate leaders can systematically identify when ambitious infrastructure scale begins running dangerously ahead of fundamental technological commercialization. The broader financial markets must look past sensational announcement headlines over the next 36 months and track granular operational data regarding Starship's orbital payload unit economics. Key performance indicators to watch include thermal shield durability, rapid Raptor engine reuse cycles, orbital propellant transfer validation, and total capital expenditure velocity in Louisiana. If engineering velocity aligns with infrastructure construction, SpaceX will solidify an insurmountable aerospace monopoly that no legacy contractor or venture-backed competitor can match. If launch cadence lags behind construction, carrying costs for 10 pads and expansive propellant plants will severely pressure margins across adjacent operating business segments. The ultimate test is not whether leadership can construct a massive $100 billion facility, but whether Starship achieves the operational economics required to make it necessary. For more analyses, visit our consultancy website. Link in description below. Thank you.